Captain Jihoon Park walked through the long metal halls of Nexus Prime. The space station was huge, bigger than most cities back on Earth. Every alien species in the galaxy had built parts of it. The walls showed pictures of different worlds and stars. But today, Jihoon felt like those walls were closing in on him. He wore his best uniform. The dark blue fabric had small silver stars on the shoulders. Other humans said he looked good in it. But right now, he wished he could wear something else, something that did not make him stand out so much. Ambassador Nari Kim walked beside him. She was shorter than Jihoon, but somehow seemed to take up more space. Her black hair was pulled back tight. Her dark eyes looked straight ahead. She had been talking to alien leaders for 20 years. She knew how to read their faces, their voices, their small movements that gave away what they really thought. They called this meeting very fast, Nari said in a quiet voice. Too fast. Something big is happening. Commander Dongwoo Lee walked behind them. His heavy boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. He was a big man with thick arms and a serious face. He had fought in 3 wars and saved more lives than he could count. Today, his hand stayed close to his weapon. Not because he planned to use it, but because something felt wrong. Dr. Minji Choi was the last human in their group. She carried a thick computer pad filled with information about every alien species they might meet today. She knew their cultures, their fears, their hopes. She had spent her whole life trying to help humans and aliens understand each other better. The 4 humans reached the big doors of the council chamber. 2 tall Vorthak guards stood there. Their skin was gray like old stone. Their eyes were small and yellow. They looked at the humans like they were looking at insects. "The council will see you now," one guard said. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. The doors opened with a soft sound. Inside, the chamber was round and very big. Seats went up in circles like steps. In each seat sat a different kind of alien. Some had fur, some had scales. Some looked almost like humans but with different colored skin or strange eyes. Some were so different that humans needed computers to talk to them. Jihoon had been in this room many times before. Usually when aliens needed help with something dangerous or impossible. When their ships broke down in deep space and no one else could reach them. When diseases spread too fast for normal medicine to stop. When wars threatened to kill millions and someone needed to find peace. Humans always answered those calls. They always found a way to help. Today felt different. In the center of the chamber sat the High Council, 5 aliens who made the biggest decisions for the galaxy. Prime Minister Vorthak sat in the middle. His gray skin looked even more like stone in the bright lights. Next to him was the Zephyrian High Counselor. She was tall and thin with blue skin that seemed to glow. Her silver hair moved like it was underwater even though there was no wind. The other 3 council members were from species that humans had saved at least once. The Deltarian representative had green skin with gold patches. His people almost died from a space plague until human doctors found a cure. The Keltorian council member looked like a giant cat with hands. Her world almost burned up when their son got sick. Human engineers fixed it. The last council member was from a species that looked like walking trees. Humans helped them when metal-eating bugs tried to destroy all their cities. "Captain Park," Prime Minister Vorthak said. His voice echoed in the big room. "Ambassador Kim, you are here because the Galactic Council has made an important decision about humanity." Jihoon stepped forward. He kept his back straight and his face calm. "We are here to listen, Prime Minister." For 50 years, humans have been part of galactic civilization, the Vorthak continued. "In that time, you have caused many problems." Nari's eyebrows went up just a little. Minji wrote something on her computer pad. Dongwoo's jaw got tight. The Zephyrian High Counselor stood up. When she moved, her long robes made soft sounds like wind through leaves. "Humans do not follow rules," she said. Her voice was beautiful, but cold. "You go where you are not wanted. You help people we have decided should not be helped. You make friends with species that are too dangerous or too primitive. You break quarantine laws," said the Deltarian representative. His voice was high and squeaky. "You risk spreading diseases across the galaxy." The Keltorian council member spoke next. Her voice was deep and rumbling. You interfere in wars that do not concern you. You stop conflicts that should be allowed to finish naturally. The tree-like council member said nothing, but his large eyes looked sad. Prime Minister Vorthak stood up. He was very tall. When he looked down at the humans, it felt like a mountain was staring at them. The council has made a list of humanity's crimes against galactic law and order. A large screen appeared in the air above them. Words and numbers filled it. Jihoon could see some of the items on the list. Unauthorized rescue of Zerion colony. Ships in the dead zone. Violation of Sector 7 quarantine to provide medical aid. Interference in the Kalos-Brennan territorial dispute. Refusal to abandon rescue missions deemed too dangerous by council vote. Sharing of restricted technology with pre-spaceflight civilizations. Treating all species as equals regardless of technological classification. The list went on and on. Every item was something humans had done to help someone. Every crime was actually someone's life being saved. These actions show that humans cannot be trusted to follow galactic law, the Vorthak said. You are too emotional, too willing to risk everything for strangers, too eager to help those who cannot help themselves. Nari stepped forward. Prime Minister, we would like to understand what the council wants from us. The Zephyrian smiled. It was not a kind smile. The council offers humanity a choice. You can accept new rules for your behavior. You will ask permission before any rescue mission. You will not help species without council approval. You will not share your technology without our agreement. You will accept monitors on all your ships and stations. In return, the Vorthak added, you can remain part of galactic civilization. You can keep trading with other species. You can keep your seats in this council. Jihoon felt something cold in his stomach. And if we refuse these terms, then humanity will be expelled from galactic space, the Vorthak said. The words hit like hammer blows. All human ships, stations, and colonies will be required to leave council territory. You will have no protection under galactic law. No species will be allowed to trade with you or help you in any way. The chamber was completely quiet. Thousands of alien eyes looked down at the 4 humans standing in the center. Dongwu's hand moved closer to his weapon. Minji's fingers stopped moving on her computer pad. Nari's face did not change, but Jihoon could see the anger in her eyes. How long do we have to decide? Jihoon asked. 72 hours, the Vorthak said. That should be enough time for even humans to understand that you have no choice. Some of the aliens in the chamber made sounds that might have been laughter. Ambassador Kim bowed slightly. It was the polite thing to do. The human delegation thanks the council for this opportunity to speak. We will consider your offer carefully. See that you do, the Zephyrian said. The galaxy has been patient with human behavior for long enough. It is time for you to learn your place. The 4 humans turned and walked toward the doors. Jihoon could feel thousands of eyes watching them leave. Some looked angry, some looked scared, a few looked sad. As they walked back through the metal halls, none of them spoke. But they all knew the same thing. The galaxy wanted to put humans in a cage. They wanted to stop humans from helping people who needed help. They wanted humans to stop being human. In 72 hours, they would have their answer. The human quarters on Nexus Prime were small but comfortable. 4 rooms connected by a common area with a table and chairs. The walls were plain metal with a few pictures of Earth. Blue oceans, white clouds, green forests. Things that seemed very far away right now. Jihoon sat at the table with his head in his hands. The council's words kept playing in his mind. Expelled from galactic space, cut off from all other species. Alone in the dark between the stars. Nari paced back and forth across the room. Her boots made quiet sounds on the floor. Every few steps she would stop and look at something on her computer pad, then start walking again. Show me the numbers. Again, Minji, she said. Dr. Minji Choi touched her computer pad. A blue light appeared above the table. Numbers and charts filled the air. In the last 50 years, humans have responded to 847 major galactic emergencies, she read. We prevented 23 wars between different species. We saved 12 entire species from dying out completely. Dongwu looked up from cleaning his weapon. How many of those emergencies did other species handle without us? Minji touched her pad again. New numbers appeared. 41. Most were small problems like trade disputes or minor accidents. So out of 847 major problems, other species solved 41 by themselves, Nari said. She stopped pacing. What about our ships? Human vessels make up 2.7% of all ships in galactic space, Minji answered. But we handle 78% of all emergency response missions. Jihoon looked up at the numbers floating in the air. How many people are alive today because humans helped them? Minji was quiet for a moment while she worked with her computer. Conservative estimate? 4,300,000,000 individuals across 237 worlds. The room went silent. 4 billion lives. Most of them aliens who would never know that humans had saved them. Dongwu finished with his weapon and put it back in its holder. What about the rescue missions they listed as crimes? The Zerian colony ships. Minji read from her files. 300,000 civilians trapped in the dead zone when their engines failed. The council voted not to send help because the area was too dangerous. We went anyway. All 300,000 survived. The Sector 7 quarantine, Nari added. A disease was killing the Altarian population. The council said helping them might spread the sickness to other worlds. Our doctors went in wearing protection suits. They stopped the disease and saved 8 million Altarians. No other species got sick. Jihoon stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see alien ships coming and going from the station. Big cargo vessels, small fighters, strange ships from species he had never seen before, all of them moving freely through space that humans might be forced to leave. What about our allies? He asked. Species that support us? Minji brought up more information. 47 species have sent private messages saying they oppose the council's decision. But only 12 are willing to speak against it in public. The others are afraid of economic punishment from the major powers. Afraid, Dongwu said. He sounded disgusted. We save their lives and they're afraid to speak up for us. They have families to protect, Nari said quietly. People depending on them. I understand why they're scared. A soft sound came from the communication panel on the wall. Jihoon walked over and pressed a button. Captain Park. Sir, this is Lieutenant Hyunwoo back on Earth. The President wants to speak with you. So do the colony governors and the fleet admirals. Put them through. The blue light above the table changed. Now it showed the faces of 12 humans from different parts of human space. The President of Earth sat in her office in Geneva. Governor, Wonho from the Mars colonies, Admiral Seojin from the military bases near Jupiter. Leaders from the asteroid mines, the research stations, and the distant colony worlds. Captain Park, the President said. We've received the Council's ultimatum. What's your assessment? Jihoon looked at his team, then back at the faces in the light. They're serious, Madam President. This isn't a negotiation. They want us to accept their terms or leave. What exactly are their terms? Asked Governor Wonho. His Mars colony had been built with help from human rescue operations. Nari stepped forward. Complete oversight of all human activities. No rescue missions without council approval. No technology sharing with less advanced species. No interference in conflicts, even to save lives. And permanent monitors on all our ships and stations. Admiral, Seojin's face got red. Monitors? They want to put spies on our ships? To make sure we behave, Dongwu said. His voice was full of anger. And if we refuse? Asked the governor of the Centauri colonies. Expulsion from all council space, Jihoon answered. No trade, no communication, no protection under galactic law. Complete isolation. The faces in the light were quiet for a long moment. Then the President spoke again. How long do we have? 72 hours to give them our answer. That's not much time for a decision this big, said Admiral Seojin. I don't think we need much time, said a new voice. It was Captain June from the outer colonies. Her settlements were the farthest from Earth, the most independent. We didn't come to the stars to bow down to anyone. The economic impact would be severe, warned the trade representative from Luna City. We depend on galactic markets for many things. We depended on ourselves before we met aliens, Captain June replied. We can do it again. What about the people we help? Asked Dr. Minji. If we leave, who will answer the emergency calls? The same people who answered them before we arrived, said Governor Wonho. Nobody. That's not our fault, said Admiral Seojin. "If other species choose not to help each other, that's their decision." President Chen leaned forward in her chair. "I want to hear from everyone. Starting with our outer colonies. Captain Jun?" "Absolutely not," Jun said without hesitation. "We don't accept cages, no matter how pretty they are." "Mars colonies agree," said Governor Wan Ho. "We reject their terms." "Military command refuses," Admiral Seojin added. "We won't put alien spies on our ships." One by one, every human leader gave the same answer. The asteroid miners, the research stations, the trade posts, the exploration fleets. All of them said no to the Council's demands. "It's unanimous, then," the President said. "Captain Park, you have Earth's full support. Give the Council our answer." The faces disappeared from the light. The four humans in the room looked at each other. "Well," Nari said, "that was easier than I expected." "Humans don't like being told what to do," Dongwu said with a small smile. "Especially by people who never risk anything to help others." "Are we really gonna do this?" Minji asked. "Leave everything we've built here?" Ji-hoon walked back to the window. Outside, more alien ships moved through space. Most of them carried cargo or passengers living normal, peaceful lives. Lives that were safe because humans had stopped wars, prevented disasters, and solved problems that seemed impossible. "We're not leaving everything," he said. "We're taking the most important thing with us." "What's that?" Nari asked. "Each other, and the knowledge that we did the right thing." Ji-hoon turned away from the window. "Contact the Council. Tell them, we'll give our answer in the chamber tomorrow morning." "What should I tell them our answer will be?" Nari asked. "The truth. That humans would rather be alone in the dark than live in a cage." Minji saved all her files and closed her computer pad. "I should start making lists of everything we'll need to evacuate." "Make sure you include all our medical research," Dongwu said, "and the engineering data from our rescue missions." "Why?" Minji asked. "Because it's ours," Nari answered. "We developed it. We paid for it with human lives and human effort. If they want us gone, they don't get to keep the benefits of our work." Ji-hoon nodded. "We'll leave, but we'll leave on our terms, with our dignity, our principles, and our people." Outside the window, alien ships continued their journeys through the galaxy. Soon, human ships would be making a different journey. Not to another planet or star system, but to something else entirely: freedom. The council chamber looked the same as it had 3 days ago. Same round walls, same seats rising up in circles, same alien faces looking down at the humans in the center. But everything felt different now. Captain Ji-hoon Park stood straight and tall. His uniform was perfect, his voice was calm, and his eyes looked directly at Prime Minister Vorthak. "The human delegation has considered the council's offer." "And?" the Vorthak said. His stone-gray face showed no emotion, but his yellow eyes were eager. "We reject your terms," Ji-hoon said simply. A sound went through the chamber. Some aliens made angry noises. Others sounded surprised. A few were completely silent. The Zephyrian High Counselor stood up quickly. Her blue skin seemed to glow brighter. "You cannot be serious. You would choose exile over accepting reasonable limitations?" "Ambassador," Nari Kim stepped forward. "Reasonable?" Her voice was still polite, but there was steel underneath it. "You want to stop us from saving lives. You want to put spies on our ships. You want us to ask permission before helping people who are dying. There is nothing reasonable about that." "You are making a mistake," the Deltarian representative squeaked. "Where will you go? What will you do without galactic civilization?" "We'll find out," Ji-hoon answered. "Humans have been exploring the unknown for thousands of years. We'll keep doing what we've always done." Prime Minister Vorthak's eyes got smaller. "You think this is a game? You think you can bluff us into changing our minds?" "No bluff," Ji-hoon said. "We'll begin evacuation immediately. All human personnel, ships, and installations will be removed from Council space within 6 months." 6 months? The Keltorian Council member's voice was a deep growl. "That's impossible. You have colonies, trade agreements, research stations." "We'll manage," Nari said. The chamber erupted in noise, aliens talking loudly in different languages. Some sounded angry, others sounded worried, The tree-like council. Member just stared at the humans with his big, sad eyes. Vorthak slammed his fist on his chair. The sound echoed through the chamber. Silence! When the noise stopped, he looked down at the humans again. You have no idea what you're giving up. The protection of galactic law, access to trade markets, sharing of knowledge and technology. We understand perfectly, Jehoon said. We're giving up the right to be treated like children. We're giving up the privilege of being told what to do by people who have never risked anything to help strangers. He turned slightly so his voice would carry to all the aliens in the chamber. For 50 years, humans have been part of this council. In that time, we've answered every call for help. We've solved every crisis you couldn't handle. We've saved billions of lives and asked for nothing in return except the freedom to keep helping people. His voice got stronger. Now you want to take that freedom away. You want us to stop being who we are. You want us to become something else, something smaller, something that fits your ideas about how people should behave. Nari moved to stand beside him. We choose to remain human, even if that means leaving everything else behind. The Zephyrian High Counselor's perfect face showed confusion. You cannot survive alone. No species has ever thrived in isolation. Maybe, Jehoon said, but we'd rather try and fail as free people than succeed as prisoners. 3 days later, the exodus began. Chief Engineer Sunho Yoon stood on the bridge of the cargo ship Rising Dawn. Outside the windows, Nexus Prime looked smaller than it had yesterday. They were moving away from the Great Station, heading for empty space beyond the edge of Council territory. How many ships do we have in the evacuation fleet? He asked his assistant. 237 vessels of all types, came the answer. Cargo ships, passenger liners, research vessels, military escorts. More are joining us every day. Sunho nodded. He had been working for 36 hours straight, coordinating the movement of people and equipment. Humans were leaving behind homes they had built, businesses they had started, lives they had made among the stars, but they were leaving together. Dr. Youngji Han was on a medical transport ship filled with human doctors and nurses from hospitals. Across the galaxy, she watched through a small window as an alien space dock grew distant behind them. Dr. Han, called one of her staff. The Altarian Medical Center is asking us to stay. They say their hospital can't function without human staff. Youngji felt a pain in her chest. The Altarians were the people they had saved from the plague in Sector 7, the ones the Council said humans shouldn't have helped. Tell them we're sorry. Give them all our medical files and research data. Maybe that will help them train their own doctors. What about the children's cancer research? Asked another doctor. We're only 2 months away from a cure. Package all the data and leave it with them, Youngji said, along with instructions on how to continue the work. It hurt to leave research unfinished. It hurt to abandon patients who needed help, but staying would mean accepting the Council's chains, and humans who lived in chains weren't really human anymore. Admiral Cumin Seo commanded the military part of the evacuation. His ships formed a protective ring around the civilian vessels. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching long range. Sensors for any sign of trouble. Admiral, his communications officer called. We're getting a message from the Brennan Defense Force. They want to know if the rumors are true. Are we really leaving? Cumin remembered the Brennan-Kalos War. Millions of people died before humans stepped in to negotiate peace. The Brennans were tough fighters, but they had always been friendly to humans after that. Tell them it's true, he said, and thank them for their friendship over the years. Sir, they're asking if they can join us. Cumin was surprised. Join us? Leave council space? Yes, sir. They say they'd rather leave civilization than live under a government that punishes people for helping others. Tell them... Cumin paused. This wasn't his decision to make alone. Tell them to contact Captain Park. We'll discuss it. All across the galaxy, humans were saying goodbye. Scientists packed up research that had taken decades to develop. Engineers destroyed projects they couldn't take with them so nobody else could steal their work. Merchants closed businesses they had built from nothing, and everywhere they went, they left gifts behind. On the Keltorian homeworld, human doctors finished their research into a new strain of the plague that was starting to spread. They left the cure formula in the main medical center with a note. For the Keltorian people, with hope that they never need to use it. On Xerion colony worlds, human engineers left detailed plans for improving their space engines. The same engines that had failed in the Dead Zone, stranding 300,000 people until humans rescued them. On Delta Prime, human teachers left behind educational programs that had increased literacy rates by 40% in just 10 years. The gifts kept coming. Medical techniques that had saved millions of lives. Engineering solutions that made impossible projects possible. Agricultural methods that ended hunger on dozens of worlds. Humans gave it all away, freely, even to the species that had voted to exile them. Why? Asked a Zephyrian trade representative who was watching humans pack up a research station. Why? Leave us your technology? We're forcing you out of the galaxy. The human scientist, Dr. Minji Choi, smiled sadly as she sealed the last data storage unit. Because people shouldn't suffer just because their governments make bad decisions. This research can save lives. That's more important than politics. She handed him the storage unit. Take care of it, and take care of each other. As the weeks passed, the galaxy began to understand what it was losing. Not just human ships and people, but human knowledge, human skills, human willingness to help when nobody else would. The Vorthak tried to claim human research stations for themselves, but the equipment was designed for human hands and human minds. Without the people who built it, most of it was useless. The Zephyrians attempted to take over human trade routes, but the navigation systems failed without regular maintenance that only human engineers knew how to provide. Species that had depended on human medical knowledge found themselves facing diseases they no longer knew how to treat. Captain Jihoon Park stood on the command deck of the exploration ship New Horizon. Around him, the largest fleet of human ships ever assembled moved through space toward the edge of known territory. Behind them, galactic civilization grew smaller and dimmer. "Any regrets, Captain?" asked Commander Dongwoo Lee. Jihoon looked at the stars ahead of them. Distant suns that no human had ever seen. Worlds that might hold wonders beyond imagination. "Ask me again in a few years," he said. "Where exactly are we going?" Nari asked. "The Galactic Rim," Jihoon answered. "Sectors. The Council marked as too dangerous or too worthless to explore? Perfect for people like us." Behind them, emergency alarms were already starting to sound across the galaxy. The first crisis that the Council would have to handle without human help was beginning. A solar flare was threatening to destroy a research station in the Gamma sector. Usually, human emergency ships would already be racing to help. This time, they would have to figure it out themselves. The exodus continued, carrying humanity toward an uncertain future among the distant stars. Free, together, and still human. 3 months after the last human ship disappeared beyond the edge of Council space, the galaxy was learning what life was like without them. Secretary Insu O sat in his small office on Delta Prime. He was one of only 12 humans who had stayed. Behind, married to a Deltarian woman named Kira. His job now was to help alien species deal with emergencies that humans used to handle. His communication device buzzed constantly. Every few minutes, another call for help came in. Problems that would have taken humans hours to solve were now taking weeks or months. Some weren't being solved at all. "Insu," Kira said, as she brought him a cup of tea. Her green skin looked worried. "You haven't slept in 2 days?" "The Keltorian plague has mutated," he said, rubbing his tired eyes. "The cure your medical teams are trying to use isn't working anymore. 3 million people are sick and the number is growing." Kira sat down beside him. What would humans have done? Dr. Minji left detailed notes about plague mutations. Human doctors would have modified the cure in about 6 hours. But the alien medical teams... Insu shook his head. "They're trying, but they don't have the experience. They're making mistakes that are making the plague stronger." His communication device buzzed again. This time it was from the Xerion colonies. "Secretary O," came a desperate voice. "Our navigation systems have failed completely. We have 40 cargo ships lost in hyperspace. We can't find them and we can't guide them home." "What about the backup systems?" Insu asked. "Human designed. We don't understand how to fix them. Our engineers are trying, but every attempt makes things worse." Insu closed his eyes. 40 ships meant about 8,000 people lost in the darkness between stars. I'll send you what technical information I have, but without human engineers. Without human engineers, those people are going to die, the voice said. The call ended. Insu added 40 more names to the growing list of people who were going to suffer because the council had pushed humans away. Captain Hein Lim sat on the bridge of the stealth ship Silent Watch. Her vessel was hidden in the shadow of an asteroid at the very edge of council space. Officially, no humans were supposed to be here anymore. Unofficially, someone needed to monitor what was happening in the galaxy they had left behind. Captain, her communications officer called, we're intercepting another emergency broadcast from the Vorthak system. Put it on screen. The main display showed a Vorthak military officer. His gray skin was darker than usual, a sign of extreme stress. This is Defense Commander Thak. The asteroid is now 18 days from impact with our homeworld. Our deflection technology has failed. We need immediate assistance from any species with advanced spaceflight capabilities. Hein had been listening to these broadcasts for a week. The asteroid was huge, big enough to destroy most life on the Vorthak homeworld. Before humans left, Commander Dongwu Li's emergency fleet would have already moved it to a safe orbit. The operation would have taken maybe 3 days. Now the Vorthak were using old deflection technology that barely worked. Their attempts to move the asteroid had only changed its course slightly. Instead of a direct hit, it would now hit the ocean near their biggest city, still enough to kill millions of people. Any response to their calls for help? Hein asked. The Zephyrians sent a science ship to study the problem. They said they'd have a solution in 6 months. 6 months? The asteroid hits in 18 days. Hein felt sick. She had served with Vorthak soldiers before. They were proud and stubborn, but they were good people fighting for their families. What about other species? The Deltarians offered to take refugees after the impact. The Keltorians said they would send medical aid. Nobody has technology that can stop the asteroid, because humans took that technology with them when they left. Hein opened a secure communication channel to Admiral Kyumin Seo in human space. Admiral, this is Silent Watch. The Vorthak homeworld is about to be destroyed. Request permission to intervene. Negative, Captain, came the reply after a long pause. We're not part of the galaxy anymore, remember? This isn't our problem. Sir, millions of innocent people are going to die. And whose fault is that? Did humans cause this asteroid? Did we break their deflection systems? I knew he was right, but it still hurt. No, sir. The council wanted us gone. They got what they wanted. Now they have to live with the consequences. The channel closed. Hein stared at the Vorthak distress signal on her screen. In 18 days, children would die. Families would be destroyed. A civilization would be crippled. And humans, who could prevent it all, were going to do nothing. For the first time since leaving council space, Hein wondered if they had made the right choice. Meanwhile, in the Zephyrian Empire, things were falling apart in a different way. The Empire had been built on controlling smaller species through trade agreements and military threats. For decades, humans had acted as neutral mediators, investigating complaints and making sure the Zephyrians didn't go too far in their exploitation. Without human oversight, the Zephyrians had gone back to their old ways: higher taxes on subject species, harsher punishments for rebellion, more resources taken from client worlds and sent to Zephyrian space. But the client species remembered what fair treatment looked like. They had seen humans stand up to powerful empires to protect the weak. They knew there was another way to live. The rebellion started small, a few workers refusing to meet production quotas, some ships not delivering cargo on time. Protests in the streets of colonial cities. The Zephyrians responded with force, the way they always had. But this time was different. The rebels had learned tactics from watching humans negotiate. They used non-violent resistance. They shared information across star systems. They coordinated their actions. Most importantly, they stopped being afraid. Hi. Counselor Zareth stood in her private office on the Zephyrian capital world. Her blue skin was pale with worry as she read reports from across the Empire. 12 systems in open revolt, her aide reported. 23 more showing signs of unrest. The Corvin sector has declared independence and started trading directly with the Brennan Defense Force. Send more military ships, Zareth ordered. We've already deployed 60% of our fleet. The rebels aren't fighting us directly. They're just not cooperating. We can't arrest entire planets. Zareth slammed her hand on her desk. Where did they learn these tactics? From watching humans, my lady. Peaceful resistance, economic pressure, information sharing. All the methods humans used when they mediated disputes. Humans, Zareth said, like it was a curse word. Everything comes back to the humans. Her aide hesitated before speaking. My lady, some of the rebel leaders are asking if humans might return to mediate the independence negotiations. Absolutely not. Humans are exiled. They have no authority here. But they're the only negotiators that both sides trust. Zareth stared out her office window at the capital city below. Zephyrian architecture was beautiful, tall spires that seemed to grow like crystals from the ground. But all that beauty was built on the resources taken from other worlds, resources that were no longer flowing as freely. Contact the human exile fleet, she said finally. My lady, send them a message. Tell them the Zephyrian Empire would like to discuss the possibility of limited cooperation on trade disputes. Her aide looked confused. But the Council banned all contact with humans. The Council is not managing this empire. I am. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. On dozens of worlds, problems that humans used to solve were growing worse. Species that had depended on human help were struggling to survive. The Deltarian hospitals were overwhelmed without human medical staff. The Zerion trade routes were collapsing without human navigation systems. The mining colonies in the outer rim were facing equipment failures they couldn't fix, and in the council chambers on Nexus Prime, the emergency meetings were getting longer and more desperate. The economic impact is worse than projected, the Deltarian representative reported. Trade volume is down 40%. Unemployment is rising on 17 worlds. The Keltorian plague has spread to 4 more systems, added the cat-like council member. Our medical teams can't stop it without human research data. Prime Minister Vorthak sat in his chair like a stone statue. His yellow eyes stared straight ahead. He hadn't spoken much since the reports about the asteroid threatening. His homeworld had begun. Perhaps, said the tree-like council member in his slow, deep voice, we should consider reaching out to the humans. Never, snapped the Zephyrian representative. They made their choice. They abandoned galactic civilization. Did they? The tree being asked. Or did we force them to leave? The chamber was quiet except for the soft hum of the air recycling systems. Finally, Vorthak spoke. How many casualties are we projecting from current crises? The Deltarian checked his notes. Conservative estimate? 200 million deaths in the next 6 months if current trends continue. 200 million lives that might be saved if humans were still answering emergency calls. And the humans? Vorthak asked. Any word on their situation? Nothing official. But our intelligence suggests they've established colonies in the rim sectors. They appear to be thriving. Of course, they were thriving. Humans always found a way to survive and grow, no matter how bad things got. 6 months after humanity's departure, the galaxy was in chaos. Ambassador Taiwan Bayek stood at the observation deck of New Geneva Station, watching construction ships build humanity's newest orbital city. The station hung in space near a beautiful, blue planet that humans had named Hope. It was their new capital, the center of their growing civilization in the galactic rim. Around Hope, dozens of other worlds were being settled. Human ships had found resources the galaxy had never dreamed of, ancient ruins from civilizations that had died out millions of years ago. Technology that made human science look primitive. Allies among species that the Council had never even known existed. Ambassador Bayek called her assistant. There's a ship approaching. It's flying Council flags. Taiwan was surprised. No Council vessel had come this far into human space since the Exodus. Are they asking for permission to dock? Yes, ma'am. They have a diplomatic passport and say they're carrying urgent messages from the Galactic Council. Taiwan thought for a moment. Grant them permission, but have Admiral Zheng's ships escort them in. An hour later, Taewon sat across a table from three aliens she recognized from the old days on Nexus Prime. A Deltarian diplomat, a Zephyrian negotiator, and surprisingly, a Vorthak military officer. The Vorthak looked terrible. His gray skin was almost black with stress. His yellow eyes were dull with exhaustion. "Ambassador Bayek," he said, "I am Colonel Thek, representing the Vorthak Defense Force." "Colonel, how can I help you?" "My homeworld was destroyed 2 weeks ago," he said simply. Taewon felt cold. "I'm sorry for your loss. 63 million people died when the asteroid hit. Our capital city is gone. Half our industrial centers are underwater. We've lost most of our ability to feed ourselves." The Deltarian diplomat leaned forward. "The Keltorian plague has now spread to 18 systems. Death toll is approaching 50 million. Our medical teams can't stop it." "And the Zephyrian Empire?" Taewon asked. The Zephyrian negotiator looked embarrassed. 47 systems have declared independence. The economy has collapsed. We're facing food shortages and civil war." Taewon kept her face calm, but inside, she felt sick. Millions of people were dead or suffering because the Council had been too proud to let humans help. "What do you want from us?" she asked. "Help," Colonel Thek said. "The same help humans always gave. We know we have no right to ask. We know we treated you badly, but people are dying." "The Council expelled us from galactic space," Taewon reminded them. "You made it clear we were not welcome." "The Council was wrong," the Deltarian said. "We can see that now, but admitting we were wrong won't bring back the dead." Taewon touched a control panel on the table. A holographic display appeared, showing the current state of the galaxy. Red areas marked war zones, disease outbreaks, and economic collapse. There was a lot of red. "Even if we wanted to help," she said, "we can't just ignore 6 months of exile. Humans have built new lives here. We have our own challenges now." "What challenges?" the Zephyrian asked. Instead of answering with words, Taewon changed the holographic display. Now it showed human space in the galactic rim. Green areas marked thriving colonies. Blue areas showed new allies and trading partners. Yellow areas indicated amazing discoveries. "We've made contact with 17 species that the Council never knew existed," she explained. "Some of them have technology that's centuries ahead of galactic standard. Others are just beginning to reach for the stars, and we're helping them develop safely." She pointed to a cluster of yellow dots. "These are archaeological sites. Ruins from the predecessor civilization that built the hyperspace network. We've learned more about them in 6 months than the galaxy discovered in the previous 1,000 years. The three alien diplomats stared at the display in shock. "You're thriving," the Deltarian said. "Yes. Turns out humans are pretty good at exploring and building new things when we're not constantly being called away to fix other people's problems." Colonel Thek's voice was barely a whisper. "We need you." "Yes, you do," Taewon agreed. "You always did, but you decided that needing us was worse than losing us." Admiral Su-Young-jung entered the meeting room. She was tall and confident, wearing the uniform of the Human Exploration Fleet. "Ambassador, sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation developing in the Kepler sector." "What kind of situation?" "First contact with a machine intelligence. It appears to be a surviving AI from the predecessor civilization. Initial communication suggests it has been dormant for 3 million years. Taewon's eyes went wide. Contact with a predecessor AI would be the most important discovery in galactic history. How soon can we get a diplomatic team there? The New Horizon can leave within the hour. Captain Park is already preparing his team." The three alien diplomats looked at each other. Here they were, begging humans to solve the galaxy's problems, while humans were making discoveries that would reshape everyone's understanding of the universe. "Admiral Jung," Taewon said, "these are representatives from the Galactic Council. They've come to ask for our help with several major crises." Admiral Jung looked at the aliens with polite but cold eyes. "What kind of help?" "Medical aid for the Keltorian plague. Disaster relief for the Vorthak homeworld. Mediation for the Zephyrian Civil War," Colonel Thek listed. "Interesting," Admiral Jung said. "Those are exactly the kinds of problems humans used to handle when we were part of galactic civilization. We were wrong to exile you, the Zephyrians said. We admit that freely. But can't we move past our mistakes? Admiral Jung sat down at the table. Let me tell you what humans have been doing for the past 6 months. We've established 37 new colonies. We've made peaceful contact with 17 new species. We've prevented 2 wars between our new allies through negotiation. We've shared medical technology that eliminated 3 diseases. We've designed new ships that can travel faster and safer than anything in Council space. She paused to let that sink in. We've been busy, and we've been doing it all without having to ask permission from a council that thinks helping people is a crime. We understand you're angry, the Deltarian diplomat said, but surely you can see that the galaxy needs human expertise. The galaxy had human expertise, Admiral Jung replied, for 50 years. And when we saved lives, stopped wars, and solved impossible problems, what did we get? Threats, restrictions, and eventually exile. Ambassador Taewon held up a hand to stop the argument. Let me be clear about something. Humans don't hate the galaxy. We're not bitter about what happened. We're actually grateful. Grateful? Colonel Thek looked confused. Yes. Being forced to leave Council space was the best thing that ever happened to us. We discovered that we don't need the galaxy's permission to be who we are. We found new friends, new worlds, new challenges. We're happier now than we ever were as part of the Council. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, human ships moved between the construction platforms building their new city. In the distance, alien vessels from their new allies worked alongside human crews. But, she continued, humans are still human. We still believe in helping people who need help. The question is, what do you have to offer in return? What do you mean? The Zephyrian asked. For 50 years, humans helped the galaxy for free. We asked for nothing except the freedom to keep helping. You decided that was too much to give us. Taewon turned back to the table. Now you want our help again, but this time it's going to cost you. What's your price? Colonel Thek asked. Not money, not territory, not political power. Taewon sat back down. Respect, partnership, a genuine voice in how galactic civilization works. Admiral Jung leaned forward. If you want human help, humans get a say in how that help is used. If you want human medical teams to fight the plague, humans get to set medical policy. If you want human engineers to fix your trade routes, humans get to design the new systems. That's impossible, the Zephyrian protested. The Council would never agree to give humans that much influence. Then the Council will have to solve its problems without us, Taewon said simply. People are dying! Colonel Thek's voice cracked with emotion. Yes, they are, Admiral Jung said sadly. And that's terrible. But people were dying before too, and humans were the ones who saved them. The galaxy decided it didn't want to pay the price for that service. The price was just following some reasonable regulations, the Deltarian argued. The price was giving up our freedom to help people, Taewon corrected. The price was becoming something other than human. She stood up again. Gentlemen, this meeting is over. You can report back to the Council that humans are willing to provide assistance with galactic crises, but only as equal partners, not as subjects or servants. And if the Council refuses? The Zephyrian asked. Then the galaxy will solve its problems the same way it did before humans arrived, slowly, badly, and with a lot more suffering than necessary. The 3 alien diplomats left New Geneva Station the same day. Their ship disappeared into hyperspace, carrying humanity's terms back to a galaxy that was learning the hard way that some things couldn't be replaced. 2 days later, the news reached human space that the Vorthak asteroid impact had triggered massive tidal waves. The death toll was now over 80 million and rising. The Keltorian plague had mutated again and was spreading faster than ever. The Zephyrian Civil War had claimed 6 more stars,